Hi, I'm Matthew Variappa, and this is Songwriters and Tour Writers, a podcast where I talk to musicians coming from Oklahoma and those that might just be passing through. On this episode is Ramsey Thornton.
Chase after you, my podcast 2 5 times. Please don't write it around like that.
When Ramsey Thornton graduated college during COVID, he wasn't sure what to do. He just wanted to do something with music. He enrolled into a Master's of History program at Oklahoma State University to study the history of the banjo, and worked as an intern at the Bob Dylan Center in Tulsa. But while juggling academics and music, he soon found work playing drums, banjo, and guitar for numerous different Oklahoma artists and bands like Ken Pomeroy, Wilderado, and Keyland. He released his debut album, I Called It, in May, and played 2 sold-out shows at Drifters Theater in Tulsa.
I don't mean to make you cry, but aren't I making a good point? If we've gotten to the place where we don't try, what are we doing this for?
How are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, good generally. Yeah, I mean, I started recording this album, I think in September of 2023, and so a while ago, like 2.5 years, I guess, like over 2.5 years ago at this point. And it came out like 2.5 weeks ago or whatever. So it was, yeah, it was nice to like finally have stuff, just come out, and I feel like I can kind of like move on a little bit, or like focus more toward like the next album and stuff like that. It just feels good to like not feel like it just feels like that is caught up with where I am presently, I guess. So it feels good.
Yeah, to just finally have it like out there after having worked on it in the background for a while.
For sure. Yeah.
Is that just like a circumstance of like, I guess your life and like all the other work that you do with all these other incredible bands, or just the time was necessary for the project?
Really, it was, I would say the biggest thing that made it take that long is I recorded the album um, with some friends in Brooklyn. Um, and I was kind of writing the album as we were, like I didn't like have an album and then I decided to start tracking it. I just like had a few songs with the idea of it being on an album, and I just kind of wrote them like, 3, 4, 5 songs at a time. But yeah, the main reason it took that long is just because I would just fly to Brooklyn every time I would want to record. Yeah, Sam Skinner is the producer and the engineer on the record, and I'm a big fan of just like his general musicianship and taste and everything. Yeah, I really wanted to work with him, and so I think that was the main reason it took that long. It was a great experience, but probably not gonna for this next record. I'm probably just gonna go somewhere and knock it out in 1 or 2 trips. But yeah, it was a really, really, really great experience. But I probably won't do that again because I think it was like 4 or 5 different trips of going up there.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, one of the first times I think I've ever like seen something from you was the Gems on VHS submission that you did
Oh yeah,
with Isaac Stalling, who
yeah,
helped produce this album.
right,
And he's like an Oklahomie, right?
right, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's how I got the Sam Skinner connection. I think they originally met just before Isaac moved up to Brooklyn. But yeah, that's how I was able to work with Sam in the first place, was through Isaac.
What was it like, I guess, not just working with Sam, but also Isaac, who laid some backing guitar tracks, is that right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. He played electric guitar on a few songs. Um, he played lap steel on a couple things, and then yeah, then he like the first song on the album is called Riverside. I think he played like acoustic on that. So just varying types of guitar. But yeah, I mean, I not so much anymore, just because he's up there. But I had been playing with him. We had been, kind of playing um, on each other's projects for a while, and he was in my live band for a couple of years, and so I feel like we had like a pretty good like system in place of just like what, like I just kind of bring a song to him, and we kind of just like know what to do pretty quickly with it. So it was cool. It was like it's like an efficient, other than the literally traveling whatever 1,000+ miles every time I went to record. Like once I was there, it was a very efficient recording process. Everything we live tracked everything, and then I overdubbed like drums, and then Sam Skinner overdubbed bass, and then sometimes Isaac would overdub lap steel or whatever. But everything like fell into place really quickly. Anytime I've recorded with Isaac, it's always like that. Yeah.
Yeah, besides like playing guitar, you are a drummer, and that was your first instrument, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I've been playing drums for most of my life. Um, and I play drums for some projects here in town, but I'm definitely more out in public, not playing drums, which is cool. But also, I mean, I'm always going to be way more comfortable playing drums than guitar, banjo, or whatever, just because I've put so many more hours into that.
What were those kind of early bands you were drumming for?
Yeah, I mean, there was like a early bands. I don't know if we were ever really formulated into an official band, but there were just like a few guys in my high school. I went to Bixby High School, like suburb of Tulsa. Um, yeah, and like, we would just do stuff for like there were like tons of like talent shows and like a lot of just like kind of random gigs here and there, nothing too crazy. I feel like I wasn't drumming for any official band, I guess, other than just like random lineups that I would have through high school until there was a band that I had with my brother and an old friend. We were called the Gales, and this is like 2017 through 2019. That was probably the first time that I was like playing like what people would acknowledge as like actual regular venues where I was, but
Hmm.
a lot of it was just, I just always had multiple drum sets in my house and just always played at my house. But yeah, there weren't any like serious goings on in high school really. That was later on when that started, I suppose.
What were the kind of like genres I guess you were playing around in? Like, was it always sort of like in the Americana folk stuff, or was it jazzy rock?
Yeah, not really. I feel like I always kind of been like jazz leaning. That's kind of always piqued my interest in terms of drumming. I feel like, I mean, like I was really into a drummer named Nate Smith in high school, which he's just very much like I try to think of how to like describe his playing, just kind of like jazz fusion stuff. Yeah, I was really into that. Still am. But yeah, I also feel like it was just kind of like the band, like that was kind of how I played, but also at the time I was just playing with whoever else I could, and it usually ended up being just like generic rock because you're high schoolers, and that's just kind of what you do, I suppose. Yeah,
Yeah. Are you mostly self-taught on these instruments?
yeah. I mean, I get my brother. There was like a brief um, period where my brother was teaching me. My brother's 4 years older than I am, and I think he got his first drum kit when he was like 6 or 7. And so there's just always one in my house. There was definitely a period where he was kind of like, kind of showing me how to play drums. I remember like very distinctly when I was like probably 6 or something, like me playing drums and him playing guitar. He was like teaching me that I think it was like War Pigs by Black Sabbath. He was like teaching. That was like one of the first songs that I remember him teaching me. Um, yeah, yeah,
So when was it that like the banjo entered your life?
yeah. Sure. That was my freshman year of college. So I suppose I was 18, or maybe I had just turned 19. So it's pretty like late, generally speaking, I guess, or relatively speaking, for like a melodic instrument, I guess. Um, but yeah, a friend that I lived with in college, he just had a banjo, and I had always been like kind of intimidated by the fact that I don't know how to play like a melodic instrument, like a guitar or whatever. Um, And I think the reason that I wasn't so scared of the banjo is because you just in like standard tuning, you just strum it and it's like already like a G major chord. And so I was like, no, that's easy, which it's definitely not, it depends on the way that you play any instrument. It's definitely not automatically easier than a guitar, but for whatever reason that made it seem not so scary to me. And so yeah, I started playing banjo, I guess about 10 years ago. And yeah, and I guess I started playing guitar maybe about 6 years ago, but the way that I play guitar is pretty similar to the way that I play banjo, just the way that I string it and the way that I tune it and stuff. So there's a lot of crossover overlap there, which kind of helped me like not feel like I was just, starting over.
Am I right in saying that you graduated from Oklahoma State?
Yeah, yeah, I got my undergraduate there, and then I think I took like an off year, and then I went back and got my Master of Arts in History there. I think I graduated in like the summer of 2024.
Oh wow. So not too long ago.
Yeah, pretty recently. And um, most of it was a 2 year program, and I think most of those 2 years I was planning on using it afterwards. But I think by the time I finished, I had just kind of started getting more serious about my own project and others people's projects that I'm playing in. And now not that I definitely enjoyed my time in the program and what I studied and all that, and I was able to intern at the Dillon Center and the Guthrie Center here in Tulsa, and that was super cool. And I kind of wanted to go into stuff like that, but for now, I'm just staying busy enough with this stuff, so I kind of just never really got started after the program.
That sort of archival like stuff was sort of in your realm.
Yeah, there was like a one of the first projects I worked on, I think, at the Dillon Center, and this was like right before it opened. Um, there was like a huge unopened bag of like 1966 Bob Dylan fan mail. And so I was like going through that and opening it, and they like made a just yeah, just very very cool. Being a Bob Dylan fan, especially, that was a super cool thing to be doing at the time. And then I'm sure that exhibit is still up. I haven't been to that museum in about a year, but
Well, it wasn't like your studies were too far off from the realm of music. Like, I think you're the only person I've ever heard of to get like a master's in what is it, banjo history?
sure, it's yeah. A lot of people, I think I'll kind of say that, and then people just like hear the word banjo and they think it's not like a performance degree of any kind. It was a history degree, and so basically it was kind of just like tracking the I guess like the archaeological trail of the banjo. It's like like using like instrument prototypes that like track it back to, it's like a Western African instrument originally. Obviously, people think of it as being like a very whitewashed instrument. Like if you look at like the basic anatomy of the instrument, it's like a Western African instrument, and it was brought into the Caribbean islands through the slave trade, and then eventually into America, and then kind of just like white people on like the Appalachian region over time kind of just took it on. And a lot of it was they were using like traditional black playing styles, but also kind of some like European influenced guitar playing. It's now it's just like, I mean, there are definitely still contemporary players playing in those more traditional styles, but it's there's also a very big area of banjo playing that is very particular to like the white South. It's a really interesting history, and so that's what my basically that was what my main thesis was over for the master's program. And yeah, I really enjoyed studying all of that. But I just kind of ended up not pursuing it afterwards.
Was it just from like your experience playing the instrument that made you really want to study the history of it?
I think so. Yeah, I so I got my I finished my undergraduate during like the March of 2020 was coronavirus, and I graduated like May of 2020 for my undergraduate. And so I was just kind of like, I don't know what to do. And so I took a year of just like working at coffee shops and stuff like that, kind of trying to think of what I wanted to do. And I feel like at that time, 6 years ago or whatever, it wasn't I just wasn't as seriously involved in music as I am now. So I was trying to think of what I would like to do actually. And at the time, which is probably still what I would like to do if I wasn't more involved in music, would just be, I was just thinking of like what's a way that I can just write about music or just like some type of like researcher or writer thing, but still, that's such a vague general idea, whether it's a journalist or what. But did you mention Dr. Miller had been on this show?
Yeah, because he wrote that book that
Sure.
was
Yeah,
about
yeah.
Jesse at Davis, which I
Yeah.
think you helped out on. Is that right?
Yeah, I like typed out the I like listened to interviews that he did and like typed them out into transcripts. So a very little part, but yes, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I think when I was talking to him, he had mentioned, uh, I think just in passing, like, oh yeah, I had a student who was like studying the history of the banjo.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, that must be Ramsey.
Yeah, I guess I first met Dr. Miller my freshman year. I just took like basic United States history, like the required class there. And I kind of quickly realized that he just had like he was a he's like an avid just like kind of music fan in general. But at the time, I was like very into Bob Dylan, and he found a lot of ways in that class to like make Bob Dylan and Woody Guthrie relevant, and I thought that was really interesting. Um, so then I ended up like enrolling in like the honors program of the college, like just to like take this class that he offered, which was like United States history and 15 songs. Because that was like, it's just like stuff like that is like what interested me at that time. And I think I ended up taking like another class with him during my undergraduate. But I guess my point is by the time that I was like looking around for like a graduate program, I had taken enough classes with him that I think I just reached out to him and mentioned that I was like considering like a some type of like writing degree, like a history degree. And so he kind of helped me like figure out kind of what I was wanting to do there. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that sort of like historical knowledge of music plays into your own sort of songwriting?
That's a good question. Maybe and probably, but I don't know if it's something that I'm conscious about, you know? Um, I'm sure in some subtle ways it kind of has to, just because of how much time that I spent reading about that stuff. But it's definitely nothing I'm conscious about, I suppose.
Yeah. I find it so interesting, like you really delved into like the origins of the banjo and all these different like the evolution and the traditions, but you're not playing in a style that I think anyone would recognize as like clawhammer or scruggs.
Yeah, definitely not. When I first started playing banjo, like the first playing style that I started with was clawhammer. Um, and that is a super cool and just a very cool sounding and interesting way of playing any instrument. It's pretty dissimilar to any other playing style of any instrument. Very distinct. Yeah, I mean, I started that way. And I think just like for practicality, like playing in like full band scenarios, with not great gear and stuff like that, it was just easier for me to like kind of ditch that for like live band situations for like finger picking stuff. And I did, I still like write and play in the clawhammer style on my banjo, but um, for anything like, I play banjo for Ken Pomeroy. I guess about half the half of the set that we're doing right now is banjo and the other is guitar, but all of that is just three finger style. So yeah, I'm not really currently playing out in that playing style at all, but it's definitely something I still do and enjoy a lot. Yeah.
I guess for those unfamiliar, what clawhammer is, how would you go about describing it?
It's just like a very rhythmic um, way of playing. It's like there's like a striking finger, which you'll either use your index or your middle finger to kind of like actually pick out specific strings. But it's always like a doom, doom, that's like the just like the basic rhythm is that. And so you'll use your thumb to kind of like slap, I suppose, for lack of a better term, like that high drone string on the banjo. It just kind of always gives it like that, like, that rhythm. And that's like just like the base level of it. You can get really you can get deep into like all the other subtleties of the technique. But yeah, I guess if I had to describe it, there's like you're really kind of only like playing with like two fingers, one being your thumb, and then the other being, for me, my middle finger. And then you can like it is very difficult to describe, I suppose.
But I mean, it's kind of like percussive. Do you think that's why you were like kind of drawn to that style?
Yeah, I mean, it came really naturally to me because the way that I thought of that technique was just like I don't know if hand-eye coordination is the right term, but um, yeah, it's just like the the feel of that is kind of its is the main part, I suppose, and that's kind of all that I could do at that time. And so I think it just like yeah, it just kind of like seemed like the most approachable way to like start playing that instrument at that time. Yeah.
I guess to contrast with the three finger style that you're currently playing with, um, like even three finger style, you're not really playing like in that sort of fast, like bluegrass sort of way. The rolling, yeah,
Yeah, no, and I think that's, uh, Ken Pomeroy, she, the way that she writes, well, she's definitely, I wouldn't play that way in her band anyways, just because like that's not the kind of songs that we're playing. But yeah, I don't know. I've just, and I do enjoy like bluegrass banjo playing, but it's just not really what I'm interested in, I guess. I kind of just think of it. I know that there's so many like preconceived ideas of like what a banjo is supposed to sound like and like where it belongs in music and all that. But I guess I just think of it as like it's more of like just like a different sounding guitar or just like a different timbre, just stringed instrument. And so yeah, I'm not like playing it in like that bluegrass way. But I'm kind of just playing it the same way I would play guitar.
are you always just kind of playing in that open banjo tuning, like on your guitar?
No, I mean, I think probably the majority of the songs on the album that came out a couple weeks ago. I mean, yeah, definitely the majority of those songs are in like a that open tuning. Um, but um, I would say now I think like a lot of the next what would be the next album would be different, not that tuning, just other tunings. I think the way that I think of like guitar and stuff, I'm not really utilizing any level of or any significant level of like music theory when I'm coming up with like guitar parts or whatever. And so um Yeah, it's I mean there's a, I guess on the first album, the album that came out a couple weeks ago, there's like a run of a couple songs that kind of like go into each other near the end, and I don't even really know what now I've just kind of like memorized the intervals. I was just like restringing my guitar and I just like strummed it at the intervals the strings were at, and I just thought it sounded really interesting, and so I just like that's how I started playing in that tuning. There's like a half step difference between like the third and the fourth string, so it's just kind of weird. But it sounds cool. And I feel like that's kind of how I I happen to come up with a lot of the tunings that I play in. There's also a few of my songs is just like standard guitar tuning, but then with that high drone string that I play with, and so it sounds, you know, different, I guess, but really it's just, standard guitar tuning just with that additional high string.
Since graduating, how did you make that transition from just someone studying history to being a working musician in Tulsa?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, it was kind of, like it was something that I suppose I was like trying to, it didn't like entirely just I was like putting in some amount of effort to do that, I guess. But it's also it did kind of just like end up happening too. I mean, for several years now, I guess I've been writing songs for like 10 years now. And so, I guess for a decade, like that has been kind of going. And then, yeah, I mean, I really don't know. I think it was just by the time I like finished my graduate program, I think I um, was just between my own project and just like other projects, whether it's playing drums or banjo or guitar for other people in town, just kind of like falling into my lap. I just kind of like felt like I was uh, naturally in a place where I could be, busy enough doing music instead. And I think that's just where I was. And honestly, I think I was just more interested in doing that. Not that I didn't enjoy all the stuff that I was studying, but it's like I think this is, at least at this point in my life, this is like the stuff that I would want to be doing most. So yeah, I mean, I really do feel like it was kind of just like a naturally occurring like combination of things that ended up like coming to me, and then also me just like continuing to focus on songwriting over the past decade.
When did you first start playing with Ken?
Um, Officially, maybe like 3 years ago. I'm trying to think of what like the first actual show I would have done with her was.
Was she still living in like Moore or Oklahoma City at the time?
I think she had just moved to Tulsa, or she was still living in Moore, OKC, but like coming up to Tulsa to track that first record, which I guess ended up being Cruel Joke that she put out last year. Um, yeah, maybe. Yeah, I really don't, probably like 3 years ago. It was when I started playing with her. It was just in like a trio configuration with me, herself, and then Dakota McDaniel. And we actually just a couple weeks ago we opened for a band called Flight from the UK in like a trio format, and that was cool. It was the first time we had done that in a couple years, and it was really fun. But yeah, I probably about 3 years ago, and we were kind of. I remember we did a couple shows at like Resonant Head as a trio. I think we opened for like Hayden Pedigo and maybe like Sierra Hole.
So who are all the sort of different groups that you're playing with now?
Right now, I mean, I'm busiest with Ken, and then my own stuff, obviously, my own stuff, and then I play drums for a band here in Tulsa called Keyland.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I play drums for an artist named Charlotte Bumgarner sometimes. And then I'll just like fill in. I played a few times recently with Caitlin Faye here in Tulsa. I feel like it's like my own project, Ken Keeland, I guess. Whenever I'm I always enjoy playing with those guys when I can make it work. And then besides that, it's kind of just like random, like um, someone needs a drummer here in town, and I just fill in for a thing.
You were playing a little bit with Wilderado.
Sure, yeah, like a year ago or a year and a half ago, there were some like special event type things that I joined Wilderado for. We did like a live EP recording in Nashville that's up on YouTube and stuff, and that was great. I mean, I really enjoyed learning those songs and playing with those guys. Um, we did a few shows, I think. Yeah, it was like an attempt at. I mean, I think a good attempt at like a kind of like turning their more of like a regular like rockier show that they do into just like a more of an acoustic forward thing. And so I played acoustic, and Travis Linville joined and played pedal steel. Yeah, that was super cool. So yeah, I played with Wilderado a bit over the past couple of years. Um, yeah, I'm just trying to think of all the like the people that I am like regularly busy with, and I guess that's right now kind of just Ken. We're gonna be really busy this summer, and into the fall, and yeah,
What have you learned from working with all these different people?
I think I've ever since I've been playing, banjo or guitar, since like in relation to my comfortability with playing the drums, it's like, I'm significantly more comfortable playing drums. I think I've always like been a little like just kind of like scared, I guess. Um, but I feel like over the past 2 or 3 years, I've definitely learned to like trust my just like the just be more confident in like the ideas that I'm gonna come up with for a song. Um, yeah, I don't know, just maybe just kind of like generally just kind of like trust myself a bit more as like a it just feels it feels weird like calling myself a guitarist or something because I don't know. But just yeah, being able to like trust my instincts and my ability when doing that stuff. We just finished with Kin. We just finished her um, second record, which I guess will probably be out in like a year or something. But we recorded it over the course of like 2 different weeks in Chicago at like the Wilco studio, and that was a great experience. And a lot of that stuff we recorded live, and so the majority of those songs, like learning those songs right there, and then recording it, within the hour or a couple of hours. And so I feel like that was a really good kind of test to just like um, I don't know, like not think about things too much. Like I guess that's another thing that I feel like I've learned. Like don't overanalyze a part you're trying to come up with or whatever. Like it's even if there are like little mistakes or whatever in a take, like that stuff is usually just gonna like end up one either not being noticeable or just like embrace the mistakes, and those are kind of what makes it unique and cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I always love whenever somebody changes up how they play a song, like when it's not exactly like the recorded session. And I feel like yeah, the recording is just like one time they've played like a song.
Yeah, I mean that's yeah, I mean with the first Kin record, Dakota produced that, but there's some a lot when I actually don't really know what extent there are, but there definitely are a decent amount of like Nashville studio musicians. There's a lot of pedal steel and stuff like that, and that's not what our live band setup is. And so I guess the same thing on the first record, kind of hearing all those songs in that format, and then just kind of trying to turn it into what we would make it live. And I guess that's what the nice thing was about this second record is instead of kind of like hearing all this stuff that is already done and then making it our own thing, we just kind of like made our own thing. And so that is, I don't know, that was maybe a bit more like satisfying.
Yeah. Yeah, she opening for your dates like here in Tulsa?
She is, yeah. Next week, June 11th and 12th. I think we're gonna open as like a three piece. Uh, Me, her, and Dak, and then I'm gonna have a full band situation. But yeah, that's is that next week, June 11th to 12th? Yeah, it's at that same venue. It's actually just in the same neighborhood that I live in, but it's a listening room called Drifters Theater here in town. It's like a very small, like 80 capacity. It used to be a church, and I think like they still have the pews in there, or they at least can if you like want to use the pews. And there's like a baptismal in the back behind the stage. It's a very cool spot.
Where did you want to go with your own music once you started like thinking about putting together like a full album?
Well, I don't really know. I would like to which I definitely it's just an ongoing effort, I guess. But I don't know if I have like a concrete goal or like place that I want to be at. But I think ideally I just want to continue to find ways to where I'm, pursuing my own music and also, being a part of the Kin project and anything else that would be a part. I know that's going to increasingly get more complicated, but just as long as I can find a way to like be doing the things that I want to do and then also be pursuing my own project. I think the most pressing thing for my own project this year is just like focusing more on, like support slots, just getting out there a bit more under my own name. Um, yeah, but I don't know if there's like like a concrete goal, just kind of general, a handful of goals.
Well, with this album, were there any sort of like, I don't know, emotions or like was there a story that you kind of wanted to tell through this album?
I feel like I've gotten that question a decent amount, and I don't really think so. I feel like the way that I write songs is I mean, I do, but it's not very common that I'm like sitting down to write a song for any particular reason. Um, some of my songs have like a very specific meaning to me. Well, I mean, like, I feel like all of my songwriting is very specific, like things that I see or hear someone say, but I don't know if that means that I can like wrap it all up into like this means this one thing or this is a representation of this singular thing. Um, yeah, definitely I wouldn't consider this album like a concept album or whatever. I try to not think about things like that when I'm writing songs because I feel like that kind of scares me because that makes it seem more like harder. That makes it seem harder, I guess. And so I try to not view it as that. I just yeah, I don't know. Especially when I write lyrics, I try to not really think about it that much.
Yeah. What is your approach to writing lyrics? Um,
Yeah, there are definitely like things that I will see in the world or things that I hear someone say, and if I think it's interesting enough, I will like take notice of it or write it down or something. I do feel like a thing for me to be able to like write lyrics. I think it has to be like interesting and I think it has to like sound interesting enough for me to. I try not to like write like what I would consider like a throwaway line or something. Um, so I don't know. I guess my meter of like what I think is interesting is just I don't know, is it just like unique enough to be worth writing down? At least according to me. But yeah, I mean, I usually write guitar parts first, um, and vocal melodies. I mean, I do like spend a decent amount of time thinking about lyrics. I don't maybe I'm overplaying that, but like the meaning of the lyrics. I don't know if I place a ton of importance on. It's definitely always guitar part first. Um, and then like in terms of like vocal melody, um, I feel like I also don't place a big importance on that. I kind of just it's usually like kind of the first or second idea that I have there, just whatever can carry along the. I kind of think of the guitar parts as like the main part, so I feel like the vocal part is kind of just accompanying that main part. I don't know if I'm really answering your question, but I kind of just I don't know if I have a great answer.
No, I find that interesting though. Just like thinking of the vocals being the accompaniment to like the guitar and instruments rather than vice versa, like most people.
Yeah, I don't know if this probably doesn't speak for all of my songs, but I think for me to be like interested enough in a guitar part that I'm writing for like if I for me to be interested enough for that to turn into a song, um, I think that usually just ends up meaning that the song could function like as an instrumental. And I don't know what other people would have to say about that, but at least to me, I feel like my guitar part that I'm playing could kind of be an instrumental. And so at that point, it's like, okay, well now there's like a lot of pressure taken off of the vocal part, I guess. And so I still like, and the vocal part is still something that I like think is like a satisfying thing to hear, but it's just like not something I'm thinking that much about.
Could you like give an example of like you overhearing something maybe, or how a lyric kind of found you?
Yeah, I mean this may not be. I think I have used this example in a prior interview, so this is maybe not the most breaking groundbreaking news. But the first, but when someone asks me this, the first like example that I see if I can think of anything else while I'm talking about this, but there's a song called Home Base on the album.
It may take time for you to come down, but I'm sure you'll come around. I'm pretty sure of it. Hope that's no offense to you.
This is like a band back in like 2022, 23 that I was touring with, called the Ivy. I played drums for them for a couple of years. I just remember being in like the back seat and listening to two individuals in that band having a conversation, and it was it's like an old van with the wind coming through like the door or whatever, and we're driving fast. It's like hard to hear anything, but the conversation that was happening in the front two seats, I guess I was like kind of interested in like hearing, and just like the bits of words that I was getting between like the wind sounds, I guess. I remember like those kind of like broken up phrases kind of just like directly ended up being like the second verse of that song.
Basic necessities, cumulative blessings. How much money do you have? Can you define happiness?
And I feel like that's like the best like direct example of that, but I do feel like that's how a lot of my songs are written, like just hearing stuff that people say, or sometimes just like reading stuff, or reading like little broken up things and putting them together.
I lost my home base from talking face to face about what we share in common. I wanna leave, but I don't wanna go. I only know what I've been shown. No winners or losers, I don't know.
What are some influences or like things you were listening to or things you were even reading that kind of made its way onto this album?
Mm. In terms of Musical influences. That's yeah, I mean that is I mean it's a good question, but I've been asked it a lot and
Yeah.
which is totally fair. I really don't know. I think I don't really know if they're this is like not the music that I listen to really at all anymore, but I feel like the bands that I was listening to as like a freshman in high school, not in terms of like genre or anything, but I just feel like um, I'm still generally fans of these artists, but like Tallest Man on Earth. I don't know if you know, his name's Christian Masson, just like a singer, songwriter, guitarist. And like the Avett Brothers, I was like really into the Avett Brothers in like middle school and some of high school. And like, whatever sonically speaking, I wouldn't say I'm too similar to either of those artists. But I think I just like spent so much whatever of my formative years listening to artists like that. Just more like, I mean, I guess we share a similarity in that we're more like acoustic songwriters. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like bands like that are kind of like what I always end up being inspired by. Not even in the not in the most obvious sense, because yeah, I don't think I have much, especially like a band like the Avett Brothers. I don't really think I have much similarity with them, and I'm not nearly as into them as I used to be. Um, but just like kind of like um, how inspired I was back then of bands like that. That's kind of like I don't know, like because when it comes to like specific playing styles, there's definitely not like a couple of artists that I directly or noticeably inspired by, I guess. I mean, a lot of people that will do like the Nick Drake comparison, and I don't think that's very valid. I think it's just like the first thing that comes to someone's mind when they think of like finger picking guitar.
Yeah.
I really don't have a great answer for that because there's just not like a singular or a handful of guitarists, I guess, that I was trying to emulate.
Who's your favorite banjo player?
That's another thing. I really like don't like, and I guess that probably leads up to that. This is probably the reason why I don't have, a main influence. I wasn't really one to like, like with drums, I went through a phase where I was like paying attention to a bunch of contemporary drummers, but I just never really did that with the banjo. I mean, obviously, like, um, Bela Fleck is like the main contemporary banjoist, and he's awesome. He's great. I saw him at uh, Telluride last year, and he's crazy, and his band is awesome. But like, that's also just kind of like not a thing that I would be interested in like doing myself. I don't know. I think just because I like just kind of like picked up the instrument and kind of just started playing it without really knowing what to do. Um, I just kind of like skipped the phase of like finding like for better or for worse. I think I just kind of like skipped the phase of like finding like banjo icons. That's not even a term, but I don't know. And I think that's probably why um, I can't, or why it's difficult for me to like find direct influences and how I play now, I guess. Through high school and stuff, I was like the bands that I would play with or whatever, I'd be drumming, and I'd be singing, and I would always like I had kind of like always casually sing a lot of my life, and so I think maybe another reason for why I didn't like spend much time finding like straight on inspirations of how to play banjo or guitar, I guess was like right when I started playing banjo, I was kind of just like, oh, cool. Now I have like a thing that I can like write songs to or sing to or whatever. And so I think I kind of just like pretty quickly just started trying to like just write songs that way. And so maybe again, for better or for worse, I think maybe that's what kind of like just like why I skipped that part of like trying to find specific examples of banjo players that I'm inspired by. And there definitely are, like banjo parts that I hear and am inspired by, but there aren't like specific people that I have that come to mind.
Yeah, yeah. Um, do you think you approach like the stringed instrument still from like a drummer's perspective, like sort of focusing on the rhythmic aspect of the melodies?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. Yeah, that's just like the thing. I just think that's kind of what I'm the most like moved by, I guess. It's always I feel like my right hand is significantly more developed than my left in terms of playing guitar. Um, yeah, yeah, I just feel like that always has come just a lot easier for me. Yeah, the whole picking and just like feel thing in general.
I feel like I definitely noticed that. Like I started listening to your album again, just like knowing that you were kind of a drummer first, and the one that really stuck out to me was like Window,
Oh yeah.
because I was like, oh wow, there's some like weird like sort of rhythm changes, at least to my ear. That was like these are very subtle, but I feel like to a drummer these are like fun little like tempo sort of changes. They're not like significant, but they're like just little bits.
Like I mean, like on that song, I know the jump part is really minimal, and I don't know, it was fun to like because yeah, I can like the feel that I in the past a lot of times have while I'm playing drums. I can kind of like tap into that whatever in like my guitar part, and then when I like play drums over that, it's just very reserved. I don't know. To me, that was just a fun thing. That was just kind of satisfying.
And it all goes out the window. Just as soon as it begins and ends, and begins again. It's that simple.
I feel like I used to do it like a lot more when I was playing banjo for my music, and when Isaac and Ethan Wilcox and Ethan Neal, if you know those guys, that was the band I was playing with back when when we were doing that stuff. A lot of my songs had just kind of like weird time changes, and I don't, that was probably I was probably trying a bit too hard to do that. But I don't know. I also do feel like that's kind of a lot of times that's just kind of like what I want to hear, and I'm not trying to be like a big music nerd about it.
But if I stand here and think, I'm starting to realize it's because I'm at a stall, a standstill, not really any big deal. What I'm going through is natural, I'm just hitting a wall. Factual, infinite and actual. Going to the movies, not worried about what I can't recall. Ain't it alright? So I pick it up again, side to side, making time for a friend. Here's that painting, I painted it for you. Don't need payment, I support you.
But yeah, maybe with guitar, it's also like a more digestible way of doing things like that, and it not coming off as like this crazy like jazz fusion improv session.
I've also noticed something that you do sometimes with your vocals. Is it like a doubling?
I think that first EP, it's that EP called American Nervousness.
There goes the fight down there. I only need that one time. There goes the fight down there. I only need that one time.
At least on that, I think we doubled the vocals on that song, or I mean on that album.
There goes the fight down there. I only need that one time. Something I can't see that's going on here. Nothing I can't try and get me near.
general vocal effect on the on I Called It, the album that came out a couple weeks ago. That is just I have a vocal mic, but then there's also like a just like a stereo room mic a few feet away, and so I think it just kind of like gives it like a very subtle like echoey feeling, or just kind of like thickens it up a little bit. So um, yeah, the album, nothing is actually double tracked on the album, but there's just like that. It's just like a stereo mic.
You just mentioned the title of the album. I called it. Was there a reason why you called it that?
I don't think so. I mean, of course, like the song that there's a song called Tony's Song that Ken is on, in like I guess the first lyrics to that are I called it, but I think I just like liked the way I think I just liked the way that sounded as a title to an album. And I put like in the album, it's I called it specifically with an exclamation point, and I just like think that looks kind of like silly, and just I don't know, just like having an exclamation point in an album cover I thought was funny, and just I can't explain it, but in some way just aesthetically what I was wanting, I guess. But I think Ken actually was the person that recommended that, because that song used to be called I Called It, but I didn't want to name the album like a song off the record.
Oh, how come?
I don't know. That's probably not a good reason there either. I think it maybe felt too um, obvious. I mean,
Yeah,
and that is a thing that people do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think just at the time, I just was like, I don't want to do that.
you didn't want like title track.
Like, yeah, maybe that's it. I think I just didn't want to like make people think like this is the song. Um, yeah, and so I kind of like retroactively changed the name of I Called It to Tony's Song so that I could then name the album I Called It. Yeah, very stupid stuff, but yeah.
Can we talk about Tony's song? Like, who is Tony?
Yeah, he's it's about Tony is the owner of Sonic Ranch, which is a recording studio outside of El Paso, Texas. I call it. He's not out of his mind. He's just like a very, very interesting dude. It's just hard to explain. He's actually a pretty great guy. The whole environment of that studio is just almost like otherworldly. Like there's like not time there. Told me a story with no end. It's like less than a mile from like the border. About his run with the alien. And like one of the last lines of that song, I mentioned like the word synchronicity. It's all because of synchronicity. He's gone on many like welcomed tangents about like the idea of synchronicity in life, which is just like basically just like letting things come to you, and it's just like what is gonna happen is what is supposed to happen. That whole type of thing. It's just a very interesting dude.
Yeah, I've known quite a few people who've gone to Sonic Ranch just because it's like, yeah, such a good space and like good quality of like recording.
I mean, yeah, it's like I feel like one of the last like destination recording spots, at least in the United States that I can think of. It's yeah, I don't like, I hope it is around for a lot longer, because it's awesome. Like the equipment is awesome, the space is awesome, everyone that works there is, all the engineers and assistants are great. And it's also like just like I feel like there's places around here that could maybe like learn from this, but it's also like not expensive for what you're getting. You're also like living there and getting all your meals there. And it's like not that expensive. Luckily it's just run by a guy that just like loves being able to kind of do that, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, was the plan always to have Ken on that song?
No, I think I recorded that song like a year before we even like floated that idea. Um, but I do think that was definitely just the idea of having her somewhere on the record was a thought, and I just like let her pick what song she wanted to be on, and that definitely is probably the one that she should have picked because it's like the most I guess you could say intimate. It's just like it's the song where her voice would probably um, add the most value, I guess.
You brought up some of your previous projects, like American Nervousness. Um, I'm wondering how you think this album, I called it, kind of differs.
Yeah, I do think this is. I mean, hopefully, I feel this way in like 10 years or whatever. But I do think this album is like the first collection of songs where I'm like actually like fully like proud of the way that it turned out and like of my songwriting in it. I feel like maybe American Nervousness. I feel like I kind of just don't, and I know this is a lot of this is just any songwriter is going to be like this, but I kind of just like don't like that at all anymore, and I can't stand to listen to it. Um, I don't know. I think I was kind of just like, not to say that now I've like figured anything out, but I think definitely that EP, I was definitely still just like trying to figure out um, what I was doing, I guess. All of that EP is also like I'm playing banjo on that EP. And I think it's just I think there was a period of time where I think the way that I play when I'm writing my own songs is probably just more maybe more digestible on a guitar and not a band. Even though I'm pretty much playing the same thing, I think just um, trying to have not that banjos can't be lead instruments, they definitely can, but I think the way that I maybe play a banjo, it's hard for it to be a lead instrument. I don't know. And for some reason, or at least, I don't know, I feel more confident about it on a guitar for whatever reason. It's probably all just a bunch of stuff in my head, but for whatever reason, I feel more comfortable about it on a guitar.
Do you think it just like types the song when like the banjo's like the lead? It's like, oh, this is a banjo song.
For sure. That's also, yeah, thanks for mentioning that because that's a and it's fair, but like that is anytime anytime really there's a banjo at all in the band, if that's gonna happen. But especially if like the lead person has a banjo, there's gonna be a bunch of assumptions that happen, and again, I do love the instrument of the banjo, but I think it maybe takes away from the song a little bit, or at least it can in certain contexts. And I think I've found that I just feel more confident and comfortable, like being the main person of a band, or just me playing myself with a guitar and not a banjo, I guess.
So for this uh debut release next week, which is all sold out, congrats.
Oh, sure. Yeah, thanks.
um, you said it's a full band. Um, I guess what's the lineup look like?
Yeah, so it's me and then Patty Ryan on drums, who is like a great drummer and also like a crazy talented like painter and muralist around town. Um, yeah, he's playing drums. Aaron Baylor is playing bass, who just is a great bassist who's played for a bunch of people around town. He also has played a lot with Wilderado over the past few years. And then so that is for sure locked in. I think Dakota McDaniel is playing guitar. Um, and then maybe Ken is going to join to sing, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But regardless, it'll be fun. I don't do like full band shows very often, um, but I think we're just gonna play the record like top to bottom, which is kind of scary because I haven't played some of those songs in a long time, but it should be fun.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, is this the first time you've like played any of these songs with sort of like a full band?
Basically, this album and then stuff that I've written after it has been all of my like the material for all of the material for my live shows for the past like year and a half. So I've been playing like songs like Dripping Coffee, um, and Window. Like those are a couple of like the first songs that I recorded for the album. I've probably been playing those live for like, I mean, yeah, like 2.5 years. Which is that's another. It's yeah, kind of crazy that it's like it like just now has come out. Any touring that I've really done so far, it's kind of just like, thanks. Like if you like these songs, they'll be out in 2 years. I don't. Yeah, you know. So that it is nice now that I can like play these songs. I'm some of them I'm kind of tired of and want to like play newer stuff, but it is nice to be like, okay, I played this song. You can like go listen to it if you liked it. You know.
Was there anything that was like super difficult, I guess?
I mean, I do think that the last handful of songs on the record were more difficult than the first, like the front half of the record.
Is the album like in the order that you kind of wrote them in?
No, but I mean, I guess no, but the last four songs on the record, one of them, I guess, just being like that little interlude that goes in between the two other songs. So like Oil Capital, the little thing in between it, Hot Shot, and 4th of July. I think those were the last things that I recorded. So that just kind of happened to be the end. And I think those are maybe just like the least from just like the average for the average listener. I think those are maybe the least approachable songs, or maybe like the most heady or something like that. Definitely the least like commercially appealing, I feel like. And so I think that's kind of why I put them at the end, just to like get all the stuff that people would be interested up closer to the top.
Mm.
That those songs maybe didn't fall into place as easily as the other ones did because I think we were just trying to do something that wasn't as easy to, I don't know, accomplish, I guess. Other than just that general feeling of like those were not as straightforward to record.
Yeah. I do like ending it on 4th of July.
Independence Day had no plans when it started.
Like the line "go talk to an individual," it kind of made me chuckle because it's basically like go touch grass.
I gotta go outside, speak to an individual.
And I do like the way that the way that song ends is like ahs, like oohs and ah, right? Just mainly just like ahs that are sung into like it's like this like weird like telephone, like landline telephone that we like sang into. Now, I don't know. I think like the kind of like the outro of that song is like a cool way of ending the record.
Now that it's the 4th of July, I still feel the residual. What I've been looking for. Now if you just look me in the eye, things maybe wouldn't seem as artificial. There's a Patriot in the attic, and nothing can get him to switch over to the other side. I mean nothing, not even 4th of July.
Oh, I guess the real last track is I Took a Solo.
Oh, yeah, totally forgot that was, yeah, yeah. I just recorded that on my voice notes app on my phone. So I just recorded that song here in this apartment, just with my phone.
This is the least I've tried in my whole life. Take away the hammer, the drill, and the pocket knife. I don't want no stethoscope or your lighter fluid.
Like that song isn't on like the vinyl or the CD, so it's not like it's just on streaming services as a part of the album. It's labeled as demo one because it's just a phone recording, but also I think there were plans of like maybe doing more of like an actual studio recording of that song, and who knows. Honestly, I think that song should just be a solo guitar song. I think I'm fine with the way it sounds on maybe the demo version is just the final version.
I was looking at you and I had an epiphany. I've got nothing to prove and everything to receive.
Yeah. I mean, the title of it too just makes sense. It's just like I took a solo. This is me.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another, like, I don't know why. Well, I guess I kind of say that in the song, but that's like another I just the way that there's not really any meaning for why I title things the way that I do, I guess. Just to go back to why I named the record I called it.
Yeah. Um, and I guess there was like a kind of period where like on social media, a lot of things that were like demos were kind of popping off. In particular, I remember Hudson Freeman's like song just going viral, and he was doing so many reels just like in fields.
Yeah, dude, I like don't Hudson Freeman is great and very talented, but I just don't there was a period a few months back around like Christmas where I just like didn't have much to do, and so I was like posting song snippets more frequently. Um, but I just I don't know. I don't want to be lumped into that category of like viral social media songwriter. I ideally would like to be who knows how even how like how meaningful that is to a songwriter's career. I feel like that stuff is so like temporary, and it's like the people that do blow up, like if you blow up so fast and you're like you go immediately to playing like crazy stages and like opening for Mumford and Sons or whatever. It's like who knows how like standing the test of time that is, I don't know. Not to I just kind of don't want to be associated with that. Not that I am at all, but that's just kind of a fear that I've had when being encouraged to continue to, because like record labels definitely want you to post your songs online. And I get it. Like I get why you would need to do that and why they would encourage you to do that, but I kind of just don't want to do that.
Well, it's interesting because like you wouldn't think TikTok and stuff is that friendly of a space for singer-songwritery type of material, but then stuff kind of does go viral that is like a Hudson Freeman thing, or like I mean Zach Bryant like back in the day, like like playing songs around the campfire, like field recording type stuff, like it's interesting because the type of people that is probably enjoying that stuff like a lot on social media aren't probably the same overlap of people who would actually go to a show.
I just don't really think it means that much. And like even having, I mean, and of course it can, like again, Hudson Freeman did like translate to like real life stuff for him. But it's just like, even if you do have like a viral video or whatever, it's just like that doesn't mean you're gonna like start selling tickets or whatever. And so I don't know. It's just not something I want. It's not something I want to like take very seriously because it's like so out of your control to begin with.
Yeah, yeah, to just kind of like you don't want to kind of cater to the algorithm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I mean, yeah, it is entirely. I just increasingly I'm realizing it is entirely up to just the people that own own the algorithm anyways. So it's like I don't know. Like I'm not going to put much thought into it. I will still post songs online a bit just to like feel like I'm like doing the thing, but I'm definitely not gonna like have my mood affected by it or whatever.
I know you mentioned trying to find some more like opener like type stuff. Um, who are some guys that you'd love to open for?
First person that comes to mind, I just feel like it'd be just I've always been a fan of I mean Fleet Foxes, but Robin Pecknold, who's like the the primary songwriter and the singer vocalist for Fleet Foxes. He does like solo tours. I have always thought it'd be super cool to like open for Robin Pecknold.
I guess if you don't mind, I'd love to just talk about some of my favorite tracks of off the album.
Yeah,
Oil Capital. I really enjoy just like the scene of like the Cybertruck. Yeah, I guess what inspired you to write some of those lyrics?
that song is like an example of a song that's kind of about a handful of different things. Like I think the first verse is kind of written after like a weird experience or kind of like a falling out between like an old manager that I had.
And I'll tell you that I told you this would happen.
Yeah, like that first verse is like not at all really related to like that Cybertruck line. I remember that. I don't know how familiar you are with like downtown Tulsa, but are you like Chimera?
Oh yeah.
I live right around there, and I just there's always like a Cybertruck like right outside of Chimera, and I just remember there was like some guy, like a grown man, that was like kind of like fanboying over this car, and he like taking pictures of it and stuff, and I just thought that was like really pathetic, I guess.
Oil capital of the world, taking pictures of Cybertrucks. What will you say to your little girl? Tells a friend that her dad drives a stupid looking truck. She's been wondering what has gotten into him, what exactly it is he's grappled onto. Well, apparently it's more than just a vehicle. What it stands for is a miracle.
The lyricism of your songs can be so abstract at times, but at the same time, like so specific.
Sure, sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that's like I'm either writing down or saying like exactly what I heard someone say or exactly what I saw, or I'm like coming up with the lyrics on the spot, and and then I kind of just like retroactively make them have meaning in my head, I guess. So that makes sense, I guess, to me, because it's either exactly what happened or like I'm just gonna find a way to make this make sense later, I guess. I don't, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and Riverside. Yeah. Is that like a reference to someplace in Tulsa?
I mean, Riverside is like the street along the river in
Okay.
like Midtown, right up to downtown. And I guess that's one of the other songs where it's like specific, like that's like actually about a thing, and it's like it sounds so much more dramatic than what it's actually about. But I just like hit a squirrel driving down Riverside, and it just, I mean, that happens all the time. Just like really bummed me out.
I had no choice on Riverside. Saw it in the last few moments of its life. There was no way I could have stopped, but now I am frozen.
And especially like touring all the time with Ken, like driving on the highways all the time, you just see so much roadkill, and it's just like so depressing. And like whenever I drive at night, I'm like super cautious of that. Just like a deer could run out at you at any second, and I'm like always thinking about that. So I just like get mad at how much roadkill I see on the road all the time.
Now all I wanna do is just pull over, turn off my radio and sit here for an hour. When I left home today, I figured I'd just keep hanging out.
I don't know, maybe I'm just like like sensitive to that stuff, but that's what that entire song is about. Just not, sounds very dramatic, I guess, when you listen to the song. And it was, I mean, it was a bummer.
And I guess the second track, Dripping Coffee, you said yourself, like, you kind of led the album with the songs that you thought were the most sort of digestible, I guess. Did you know that at the time, or was that something you kind of came to after like playing them for a while?
I feel like that song, I kind of always, I mean, it is like one of the most simplistic songs on the album, I would say, probably. And it's like, I think the vocal melody is also like, if there were to be one of these songs that was like going to be like in an American folk song book, not that any of these would be, but like that is it's, you know, it's just like the same melody over and over again. It's the most like,
Yeah.
if you had to, if there was a song where you had to get like a group of people to sing along with you, it'd probably be that one.
Yeah. Well, you bring up the melody. It is it's pretty different uh, than most of the album, I feel like, in terms of, rather than like how you said uh, the instruments being sort of the main focus. I feel like Dripping Coffee like really takes the lead on the song.
Definitely, yeah. That would be an example of like, I don't really think that song could be an instrumental like that. Yeah, definitely the vocals are the most important part in my mind of that song. It's kind of like, yeah. It's also like the I mean, it's nice because it's like that's like the easiest song for me to perform live, probably because of that reason. Yeah, I do think that's a good example of like a song where I'm definitely like prioritizing the vocal part over the guitar part. Yeah.
How did you come to the lyrics?
Yeah, I mean, I was in like my old apartment, just like sitting at the table, and I remember I was like making coffee, and my brother told me a long time ago that when he was a little kid, he used to think that like thunderstorms were happening when God was bowling.
I hear the dripping coffee, the bowling alley track. I hear the dripping coffee, pull out your farmer's almanac. I heard you're always watching, I hear the dripping coffee.
And then I guess that song kind of just turned into being about like how my relationship with like Christianity has changed over the years. You know, it started from like literally what was like right in front of me, and then just like kind of turned into a thing.
I know that you could stop me, I know you could do whatever you want. I know that you could just drop me, hurry up now, this is taking too long. I'm the puck in a game of hockey, I know that you could stop me.
Do you find like the way that you write kind of different than, say, like Ken? or like Kyle?
I think the way that Ken and I write is kind of similar in the sense that like I don't, I don't want to speak for her, but I feel like the way that we write is a little bit more abstract. I like, for example, I don't think I would be someone. I would maybe like to try it in the future just to like see what happens, but I don't think I would be someone that would be able to like write songs for other people or like write songs for like commercial success in general. I feel like yeah, I don't know. And not just that definitely don't like Kyle's a great songwriter. I don't but I do think he definitely is better at like having like a this song is gonna be about this, which is like definitely a strength. And it would be nice to be able to do that, but I think I just can't do that, and so I'm just kind of embracing the fact that I can't do that and just trying to, do it whatever way that I can. Um, but I feel like again, I could be wrong, and she could not think this, but I do think Ken and I are also both people that I am not really comfortable like co-writing, like writing with other people. It's just not really how I function. I feel like I'm just either going to be too like uncomfortable to like come up with a good idea, or I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I do think just if we're working with those examples, yeah, I think I wouldn't be able to. I don't even know if I wouldn't be able to. I just think I really have never made myself, and I don't naturally gravitate toward the way of like, okay, I'm gonna like write this song about this, or like it's really common to like write love songs or something, and that's just like not what I am interested in, I guess. I don't know. I feel like my songs always end up kind of just being about some really specific thing. But when I'm listening to like songs, that's not something that I don't like care if I don't know what the song is about. As long as I like trust that the songwriter is like being somewhat genuine and it at least like means something to them. That's kind of like what I feel like that's the thing that I like catch on to. And I mean, Jeff Tweedy is one of my favorite songwriters, and like his songs definitely don't really make sense, literally, and that's cool. That's fine. I still feel it. I still trust that he's like a very expressive and like thoughtful and genuine artist, I guess,
Yeah, it's not like he's just swinging like crap at the wall.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I guess we've been yapping for a while. Where do you feel like going after this? I guess what does the future hold for Ramsey Thornton?
Yeah, I mean, I really I don't know. Kind of what I said earlier. I mean, I definitely am going to hear ideally in the next like 6 months, try to like start recording a second record. I'm not really in any rush to like start actually recording as long as I'm, working on it on my own. I feel like once I actually start recording, it's a pretty quick process anyways. And so I'm not in a rush to like get into any studio to actually start that. But I think just as long as I'm just like working with the goal of having a second record done in the next like year maybe, just that, and just continuing to, again, as I said earlier, I really think the most visual way of saying this, I guess, is just like trying to get some support slots, which like the small team of people that I'm working with, we're prioritizing that, but there's it's just you kind of just don't know what's going to happen for a bit, I guess.
That was Ramsey Thornton. To find out more about him and the list of songs that were played in this episode, go to kosu.org. You can find and follow Songwriters and Tour Writers on social media, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Songwriters and Tour Writers is a production of Oklahoma State University and KOSU. Songwriters and Tour Writers is a production of KOSU and Oklahoma State University. Our editor is Ryan LaCroix, and our cover art was created by Terry Ferris. Thanks for listening. I'm Matthew Viriapa.